All right, let's have a look then. I'll do it live, sure. The problem is that I haven't actually pulled up any of the VODs or anything. I've just written it all down. I don't have timestamps for these things, so I need to like go through the VOD and find the stuff. So let me pull it up. Okay, let me have a look at VLR. So we need to be, oopsie daisy. So we need to be starting here. Let's have a look at Subroza. So he played against LG on Bind. Then he played against AKREW on Fracture. Then he played against Ghost on Fracture. But a lot of the stuff that he did in that Ghost game, I'd already talked about in the AKREW game, so I only really pulled up a single round. Actually, no, I didn't. I pulled up a bunch of rounds in the Ghost game. But what I haven't done yet is trim out all of the bullshit from this. Because, you know, I went through a lot of the rounds and made pretty extensive notes. So some of these rounds are just going to be boring because it's like very default gameplay, or there's like some stuff he does well and some stuff that I thought was weird. Anyway, let me pull up the rounds then. So if we're starting with TSM LG, it's the third map, Bind. So that's going to be somewhere around here. Okay, so we can... What does it say? Oh yeah, 1-1 in terms of maps. For some reason I thought that was the third round there. So the first one I wanted to look at was round 4 on this map, so I'll skip things ahead a little bit. Which is this round. Okay, so then we have TSM AKREW. He did that on Fracture. That's map 1, which should be the beginning of this VOD. Put this audio compressor on as well. And then TSM Ghost is on Fracture, which is also map 1, which is handy because that is at the beginning of the VOD again. Okay. All right. So yeah, we're going to take a look through Subroza's Astra gameplay. And, you know, the like real reason that I'm doing this is because he put out that Twitter clip, or rather he didn't, sorry, it was a Twitch clip. And I think the guy deleted it anyway because it was getting taken too seriously because he said he was playing perfect Astra. But it genuinely did make me think, how good is Subroza's Astra? Because the numbers he puts up are absurd, right? Listen to some of these numbers. This is just from when he's played Astra in 2022. He has an average of 300 ACS, an average of 300 ACS, 188 ADR, 81% cast. So he's like either getting a kill, an assist, surviving, or being traded in 81% of his rounds. He has a 1.08 kill per round. I mean, these are bonkers numbers for an Astra. He only plays Astra on 2 maps for TSM currently. He plays it on Bind and he plays it on Fracture. Yeah, you know, his normal role would be to play the Sky for this team, play like the flex role, kind of. But their composition here, he can't really do that because it would put Corey in a weird position. I guess Corey could play like a Raze here, but then it would put Waddell in an odd position. So like, yeah, they're playing Perma Chamber, and that means that he has to kind of fill on this map. And if you take a look at their Fracture composition as well here, they play him as the solo controller, which is a bit unusual, right? They play this Killjoy Chamber kind of setup. You can see it here. They've actually changed things slightly because they moved Corey over to the Raze, and then they put Rossi back onto the Viper, but he's playing the Astra for them. I think perhaps TSM is still experimenting a little bit with what they want to do with this composition, but anyway, we're going to start with Bind, where he's playing this this Astra controller, but in a double controller setup. So he's not got the world on his shoulders. He still can make some plays happen from this position. You don't have to play purely to keep yourself alive all the time. You're not a solo Astra. But a lot of criticism was leveled at Subroza over the course of these open qualifiers for playing too aggressively, for either dying too early, taking peaks when he doesn't need to. And I think a lot of those concerns were very valid. I mean, of course I would, though, because it was me that was leveling some of those criticisms. But a lot of that was to do with his Sky gameplay and sometimes on Astra too. But the numbers that he puts up truly are bonkers. So let's take a look at kind of what he does really well and what he does not as well. And a lot of this, you're going to be having to look at the minimap because it's not actually on his POV very often. And you're going to have to kind of deduce what his decision-making is based on his teammates' information and stuff too. So it's not the greatest. It's not like CS where you can review a demo or Overwatch where you can look at the replay viewer, but it's okay for this, I guess. So what I wanted to point out here is we're into round 4, right? And TSM, they won the 3rd round, but they took a bit of economic damage doing so. It was LG's bonus. And Subroza here has a choice of being able to play on the defense side with full armor Spectre and full utility, or some combination of like maximizing his rifle, but whatever. So he starts with 3,000 credits to begin the round, and he sells 2 of his stars to get a Phantom light armor. So he's going for the prioritization of his gun in this round rather than grabbing health and grabbing utility. So that gives you an indication already of like what he's trying to do here on this round. So let's have a look. In terms of his default setup on Bind, he does the same thing pretty often, where he's going to be putting a star into showers. Then he's going to be putting a star underneath hookah most of the time as well. And in this round, he helps crunch showers with Alico. So Alico fires like a recon dart through, I believe. Yeah, recon dart comes through, Alico runs through the TP, and Subroza's basically pushing. So, you know, they're going to take a fight really early on here, and they go to try and kill Moose super early. Here, he's got showers control with his Sova, and the plant is going down. And something that I noticed quite a lot from Subroza is he doesn't recall stars on the other side of the map particularly often. He likes to sit around with his gun out a lot. So, you know, plant's already down, still doesn't recall the star that's happening over towards B. As the Sova ult gets popped, he swings and finds a timing to be able to get into back sight here. And, like, goes to make the play, you know? And swings at the same time as the drone comes out. So Alico's using his drone. Subroza swings, gets away from the ult. It's the play that he has to make to avoid getting Sova ulted, and finds the timing to be able to kill Dazzle, which seems quite nice to me. Waits a little bit for the rest of his teammates to be able to retake here. Still has that star that he could have used and recalled on B, but, you know, really focused on how he's positioned himself to take the gunfights here. And is able to clean up the round. So to me, I mean, this round, he's right from the beginning thinking about how he's taking the gunfights in terms of what he's buying, the early round decision to just push showers really aggressively off Alico's dart. If he gets fought in showers, does he have the ability to be able to defend himself? Maybe, but he's not playing with any of his teammates. And then the utility is pretty much absent for the rest of the round. But I mean, decent decision making in terms of how he positions himself and how he the timings on where he repositions, so seems okay. And no, that, I mean, the keeping your star on B in case they TP doesn't make sense when the plant's already down, does it? So, all right, so in the next round, you'll see, again, a pretty similar star setup for him. He double stars into showers, and then he has 1 on short and 1 sand. So one of the things with Subroza is that he's going to put this star down a lot that is in sand, but from what I could tell watching TSM, they almost never use it. It's like pretty much 100% of the time going to be a fake, just a like, I guess you could call it like a wasted star, but I think there's some value to still having it there, because if you do it at all, I mean, you're kind of conditioning LG to ignore it, and then if at any point you do try to run a sand TP, that star can be incredibly useful. But from what I remember off the top of my head, I don't think they actually use that star in this map. But I could be wrong with that. So this is against an eco round, right? So Subroza's playing with a rifle against an eco round. He's got double star towards showers. Smokes one of them. Just kind of holding, seeing if he can get any information. He swings out of showers to take a look down short as the push comes through. Is able to get that kill. But here's what I don't like. I think Subroza gets that first kill. That's fine. If he then wants to, you know, recheck showers and see if there's anybody there, or fall back into a defensive position on site behind the Astra with the rest of his team. I think that's fine. But this is the play that I think is very typical of Subroza, and I think something that he could really tighten up in his game, which is Subroza's found the first kill here. TSM are in a 5v4 with economic advantage, and he repositions Pocket against a team that is very likely to Skyflash through this Viper wall. It's really likely, in my opinion, that they Skyflash through this. You know, that's what... it's a really classic play to go for this. And he does actually have some of his teammates now coming to try and help him. But you'll see what happens here is that Flash comes through. He's full blinded. Wardell is full blinded. And it's only Alico that's able to help. Sorry, not Alico. Rossi. Rossi cleans up these LG players as Wardell and Subroza are just full blinded running around. And while I think that kind of setup is fine against a rifle round where you really want to try and deny the spike plan or something, it seems pretty dangerous to me to go for it. It's a good setup by Rossi to be playing anti-flash against that, but I feel like it's not necessary against the eco round at all. And Rossi ends up getting the 4 kills here just because essentially Wardell and Subroza are both the bait in that position. But Wardell and Subroza both push up to the wall, like staring at it, waiting to get flashed. And if Rossi ends up dying there, I mean, they all die. If Rossi doesn't get the kills, they all die. So I think that's something that Subroza does that's a bit of a pattern that he could really tighten up his game, and those tendencies to play aggro in those kind of situations when you already have the advantage in the rounds would be helpful. I think that would be helpful. Anyway, let's... I didn't find anything particularly interesting in this round, so let's move on to number 7. This is one of the rounds where I think it indicates something important about TSM in general. So they've just had a timeout here, right? This timeout has been called by LG. So TSM have had a lot of time to think about what they want to do in this upcoming round. They have some ults to be able to work around, right? They've got a game plan. What else got the operator? But just look at the pathing of their players at the beginning of this round a little bit. So they're going to make a play here to try and set Wardell up in showers. So Subroza has the same kind of utility he's been running in the previous rounds. So double one in showers, one at short, one at sand. And the idea here, I think, is to get Wardell's operator set up on the long angle. And Subroza's there in case he gets pressured early. And then Subroza can fall off and do whatever else. So take a look at how this one works. Again, this is against an eco round, right? Just something to keep in mind. So Wardell gets set up. They use this recon dart. Alico is just out in the middle of the open for God knows what reason, just to throw that recon dart. And Wardell has got set up on the angle. So they've been effective at being able to get Wardell set up, but it's got Alico just killed because I don't know what the fuck they're doing there. Anyway, TSM then become incredibly indecisive to me about what their reaction should be, like what the protocol should be once they actually lose a player this early against an eco round. And if you watch Wardell and Subroza, they both want to rotate to be here. Wardell is completely set up on the showers line, which I think seems like a really good position for him to play in. I don't think your chamber has to play rotate here, especially when they don't actually have their rotate rendezvous set up. So to me, it does make sense to have the Subroza be the guy that rotates, because then you leave Wardell set up, gaining a ton of good information if LG end up dropping back and playing a bit of a slower round after here. But whatever the case may be, whatever they end up thinking the right decision is, they both leave showers completely, and they both want to rotate and only leave a single player on A. And then there seems to be some like communication between them in spawn, and Wardell goes back to A, and then Subroza's like going back to A as well, because Corey presumably is saying, guys, actually they're not coming up B long. And you just got this like rotate mess in spawn. And this happens a lot with TSM, where it feels like maybe the shot calling is so on the fly that they don't have any like set ideas of who is supposed to be shifting positions to cover for these kind of gaps. Like this to me seems to be quite a common situation. You just lose a player B long. I would anticipate a team like TSM to have some kind of pre-planned response to this. You know, it doesn't have to be pre-planned in the sense that there's like some massive game plan around it, but like, who's the rotator? And do you want to keep that information towards showers? And what do you do if you don't hear any information? That kind of stuff. So that's what I'm looking for. Here, I'll update the title. So this to me seemed incredibly strange here. So not only did they lose the Showers information, but they withdrew both of the stars there as well. And now Subroza is coming towards B, but you can see just such massive holes in TSM's control of the map now. You know, Wardell's on a much more passive position if they actually do end up going towards A. They don't have any information. The round has slowed down. They could be going back towards Showers. They could be in hookah at this point. There's like so many points of where TSM are lacking info around the map. And Subroza loves playing in this position when he rotates. He plays off-site instead of going to play with Corey at all. And that's a real theme of Subroza when he rotates on Astra, is that he plays in this position just outside of the hookah sightline in order to play a safe pause to put down his stars and stuff like that. And I don't think it's always going to be a problem, but it does end up creating a lot of these scenarios where Corey is now utterly isolated. And the B rotate is not helping the B player at all. And this happens on a few of their later rounds too, where it's not always Subroza, but sometimes it's like Wardell comes in, but then he's just holding back halls here, and they still have a player pushed all the way up in like solo octagon or solo up here. And the defensive setups just aren't complementary off each other at all. And so that's why I was saying on the podcast that I think the biggest things that TSM can work on are these protocols and defensive setups, so that they actually have some idea of like, okay, we've lost a person, we need to drop back, but we still have like this player playing off this player, or this crossfire setup, or something like that. They just don't seem to have any solid defensive setups. So now Corey is just kind of out on his own. Uses his fragging to be able to get that kill over B-Dog. Could have gone very wrong, obviously, but doesn't. And now Subroza's in a more advanced position helping Corey. But the problem is here, Subroza's actually doing a good job, in my opinion, of trying to assist Corey, and Corey goes for the Omega feed into hookah. And Subroza's like, how do I help you, bro? How do I help you? And this is, again, what I'm saying about, I don't think it's the players making bad decisions all the time, but Subroza looks really frantic in that situation because he's like, I don't understand what Corey's doing, so I don't know how to help him effectively. Anyway, they end up dropping back into a fairly standard setup, and Subroza's anchoring the site, and he does an amazing job of anchoring here. The guy is so skilled. I mean, just being able to isolate these 1v1s, he does so much damage to that first player, and then Rossi's in straight afterwards too. The guy is incredibly talented. So, love the way that he actually anchored that position. But a lot of things in that round do not make things easy for Subroza. Let's skip forward to round 9, because I had something I wanted to point out about round 9 as well. Is that this round? It is. I can count. I can count. So, here we've got Subroza playing with Rossi inside Showers. It's the same setup, by the way, like same kind of stars being thrown, right? Double Showers, one short, one outside sand. They're going to take a look. This dart, they've been throwing very regularly from Aleko. And from our point of view in the minimap, you can see that that is just mostly not getting any information, or rather it's getting information that nobody is there, because LG don't play early towards Showers. And actually, they don't even play late round towards Showers very much. They're kind of ignoring this area of the map quite a lot. But it's not necessarily correlated with it's going to be a B push, or it's going to be an A push. They're just very often getting zero information off the back of this. Or not zero information, but like information that there is no one towards Showers, but it's not correlated with there's no one towards the A site at all. This is a B-sided default for LG, but okay. So Subroza doesn't fight Showers. He smokes it off. He's like, okay, I'm going to rotate immediately. And that to me seems a bit weird, because LG haven't been playing a super fast-paced offense at this point. And Subroza is now just playing rotate Valorant in spawn. And he's just in spawn. You know? And TSM are giving up that map control, and Subroza doesn't know whether or not to rotate fully or not. And these slower-paced rounds are only going to become more common as TSM plays against better and better teams. You know, the like tier 3 teams are going to fucking send it on A if they take any map control, or send it on B if they take any map control. They'll be super one-dimensional to read. And these kind of rotates, yeah, Subroza could rotate immediately, stack B, and you've got 4 players there, and okay, you just crush the hit. But if teams are playing with any kind of variation in their tempo at all, TSM seem incredibly quick to rotate. And I'm being clear here, or rather I'm trying to be clear, in that I don't think this is a specific read against LG, because I don't think LG have been running incredibly fast hits all the time. They have actually been playing with a bit of variety of tempo. And that's why I think it's an unusual decision. So here you've got Mata fighting against Corey, Sky on Sky. Here's the pull to try and stop any follow-up that happens into Hookah. He's still just stuck in spawn at this point. They have no control of lamps. They have no control of showers. Playing fully off-site on A. And here's where Subroza does something really nice, in my opinion. Subroza gets to the back of the site here, and he's just seen all the Viper utility go up. And so Subroza's positioned here, and they hear a little bit of something happening towards Hookah, and Subroza runs away. So he gets close to Hookah, gets close to Lamp, sorry, and he runs away, making a bunch of noise in pipes, and then he kind of sneaks forward. So he's trying to like sound bait that there's been a rotate through the spawn, and he's looking for that push. He's hoping that Tig tries to lurk forwards and uses the fact that there was like an audio cue of them rotating away. Rossi uses his ult. Subroza positions himself towards bench here as well. And this, I think, is a bit weird from Subroza and Rossi, but I'm not convinced it's the straight-up wrong play. But what they do here is that with 17 seconds on the clock, they pop their Viper ult and they spam the site to try and deny the plant. But what this actually does is it just gives a fuck ton of room for Tig to just sneak around the back. I mean, here's Tig, and Subroza and Rossi are just spamming the plant. And this just gives a ton of room for Tig to lurk around behind. And they win the round just based off that, because Subroza gets stuck in showers. And he misses his pull to deny the plant. And they lose the round because of their impatience at being able to deny the plant instead of just holding map control and not allowing Tig to get that lurk off through the back of lamps. You can see what they're going for, though, right? You can see that, again, it feels like they're kind of expecting their opponents to make mistakes. Like, for example, just sticking the plant with 17 seconds left and getting spammed to death. Like, that's what they're hoping is going to happen. But they're actually leaving a lot of holes for better teams to exploit. So, yeah, it's, you know, you can see what the game plan is there from Rossi and Subroza, but it actually just pins them in a small corner, gives LG a ton of room to be able to play around on site. And Tig gets off a really nice play and completely outplays them. Then, obviously, Subroza does miss the pull to deny the plant. So, that's a bit of a problem as well. So, okay, you've got this next round. Now, the reason that I'm going so hard on this bind one, the reason that I've got a point for every round is that this was the only time that they actually played bind on stream. So, if you want to take a look at Subroza on bind, you kind of have to look at this VOD, which again makes the sample size really dog shit, because what if Subroza just had an insane game or a bad game or whatever on this one map? I don't fucking know. But this is all you've got to go from. So this is one of the rounds where Subroza uses a lot of utility early on. So they've got, you know, recon darts being exchanged towards B long. Again, very similar kind of setup. There's actually no star outside sand this time, but he's still got his double star towards long and, showers and one at short. And Subroza is going to try and position himself in pocket against the Viper utility. So he can see everything at the moment. The Viper utility is not up. And he puts himself into pocket. And the Viper utility, he goes into astral form there. But now the Viper utility goes up, and Subroza is, I guess, trying to turn around to play anti-flash or something there. But at this point, Subroza can't see anything, right? This Viper utility is completely up, down, short. And you normally would see people hold from lamps in this kind of position. And sure, there's a lot of counterplay that can come towards you if you're in lamps. You might get shock darted or sucked or dogged or whatever. But the reason that a lot of people play from lamps is because that's going to be the lurk pathing a lot of the time if anybody is following this Viper utility. Whereas if Subroza is just holding pocket on his own, it feels like a position where you're either going to catch all three players if you turn the flash and spray them down, or you're just going to get flash and died. get flashed and die. And I think this is another situation where Rossi is aiming to play anti-flash here, and then if Subroza gets flashed and dies, he's kind of bait for Rossi to swing out and clean up some kills as they push through. But again, watch how Subroza kind of plays this. So he's already used his star towards showers. He's put down 2 stars towards short, pops one of them as a smoke, then he gets close again, and he's going to re-clear this kind of area. Viper utility goes up. He's going to pop another smoke here, Subroza. He's playing behind this box, pops another smoke, and he's going to play inside of it. So we're at 45 seconds right now, and Subroza is running out of utility because he's used a lot of his stars already. He has 2 stars left, so he puts one down in hookah there as the drone kind of comes through, and he puts one down in short again. Now he repositions back into lamps. I don't think there's anything wrong with this round too much, apart from Subroza maybe being in a bit of a pushed up position if anyone was trying to lurk down with the Viper utility, but there's a chance that he catches somebody off. It's not too bad. This one turns into a smoke and debatably helps Corey. And what happens here is Rossi gets the first kill on the guy in showers, and then Moose gets up on top of this box, kills Rossi. Subroza tries to swing to trade, and Moose hits a ridiculous kill to kill Subroza. I don't think the timing on Subroza's swing there is bad. I think that Moose just kind of owns him. So I'm not mad about that round particularly. I think it's a fine round from Subroza. He's still trying to play fairly advanced positions on the site, still trying to take early duels as the team enters. You know, for the beginning half of the round, he's looking to take ratty early kills around A short, and then he tries to trade out this kill that's happening. You know, it's like Rossi and Subroza are like, okay, let's fight these guys who are coming A short. So, you know, they're still making the decision to fight early rather than, I think there's a lot of people who would try and play when you're the only 2 players on A. Once you get that first kill in showers, you're just like, okay, we have the advantage in the round. We're 5v4. Let's just play positions where we give them front sight and allow these rotates to come through. But TSM love going for the more high risk, high reward approach pretty much every time. So again, here they get the first pick in showers, but then Rossi swings and Subroza has to trade and can't get the trade because Moose hits a really nice shot. So it's like the idealistic, or like the ideology of TSM is we fight early, and here's just a round where even though they execute it fairly well, it doesn't end up working. Is it a terrible decision? No, I don't think so, but maybe not optimal. And a lot of other teams that are finding the most success end up grabbing that first kill and then dropping back to more passive positions. So let's take a look forwards, skip this round now that Subroza's dead. And we'll take a look at this round. So this is a half-buy kind of round. No, actually, this is a force round, sorry. This is a force from TSM. They're on the second to last round, and they're like, fuck it, let's force. So Subroza buys a Guardian and full stars here. And he's going to be just holding back triple, which is a different position to where he's held previously, but same kind of star setup. 1 in short, 2 in showers. And again, really wants to rotate very early, despite the fact that LG have done very little. I mean, they've done a little bit of damage early to Aleko. Wardell instantly teleports his chamber, and Subroza really wants to teleport as well, but presumably is told not to. And now Subroza is going to be playing in lamps. Or I guess he's just playing with Rossi on site at this point. Oh yeah, they tried to go for this boost. Unfortunately, they didn't get it. That would be hilariously unfortunate if Moose had gone for the same kind of push down short. And so here, he's spamming. He's going to try and kill the drone. So he kills the dog, in fact, actually, not the drone. But, you know, you can only kill one of them. And now he's just going to be holding lamps with the Guardian. And at this point, you know, it's based on your intuition for how LG have normally been playing. What kind of angles you want to hold? Do you want to push forwards? Do you think you can catch timing? Do you think they're even likely to be coming that route? As the Seekers go towards B, it's going to rotate away. And what what I was confused about in this round, personally, is that when the Seekers come towards B here, Subroza still has 2 stars left. And so he started with full stars, remember? And he used 2 of his stars here in short to suck and stun, I believe. And then I think he smokes short as well. So I think he used 3 stars in short there. I think he smoked it, then he sucked and he stunned to block the push when he heard dog and drone being used. So I think that's, you know, a large amount of utility, but considering the time on the clock and the double drone usage, I think that's pretty reasonable. Here's my other concern, though. Subroza's base reaction to pressure for his opponents appears to always be to rotate to help them, where he's a player that has global influence when he plays Astra. And I think something that would be really good for Subroza to start thinking about a bit more as well is that his first initial reaction to how can I help Corey should not be to rotate through spawn, because you're going to be there late anyway. I mean, Corey's already going to have taken the fight at that point. But it's to actually put down utility to help Corey. It's to put down something to assist him. I think the only thing he has access to at this point is a stun and a smoke, I believe, just looking at the vague timings of his utility. So he doesn't have the suck to be able to help Corey, which would be obviously massive because he already used it as short. But trying to do something here, I think, with his utility to try and help Corey out seems like it would be more helpful to me. And you'll notice a theme of Subroza's gameplay, also when we go into Fracture, that his first reaction to his teammates being pressured tends to be to try and run and help them with his gun, rather than to put down utility that's going to be useful for them. And I think with Astra, that is normally going to be helpful to play the other way around. The other thing here, too, is as he rotates in, there's still 2 players, right? There's Wardell playing backside. There's Alico playing here. Aleko, I always say it differently every time. Wardell dies, and you've got 3 players on the retake. You got a recon dart, you got an Astra wall. So I was anticipating these guys to start getting into sight quickly. I mean, they've only just killed Wardell. If you try and get into sight fast here with the Astra wall, I feel like you've got some opportunity, especially with that recon dart, of being able to get into backside with Rossi and Subroza and fight. But instead, what ends up happening is that they just stay in back halls for a long time. And Rossi and Subroza are kind of waiting for people to peek into them. And they're good players. They managed to get a bunch of kills here. But they don't actually take any of the space off the back of their Astra wall. And Mada's able to have a little jiggle, find out where one of them's playing. And Subroza, incredibly weak, unfortunately ends up dying to this one. Would it have materially changed anything if they had tried to push into backside really early on? Yeah, I mean, maybe they don't even get those opening kills that Rossi and Subroza are gifted by the LG players facing into them. I mean, that's a possibility, right? But I think a lot of the time, the teams that defend the B site incredibly well have these A rotates flood into backside really quickly to be able to relieve some pressure from them. Whereas it doesn't seem like something that TSM are really opting for. Smooth down there. Thank you for the prime. Thanks for the prime. Let's take a look at the next half. So this time Subroza is going to be attacking, and he's involved in less stuff when he's on the attack half. So I don't have as many examples that I want to bring up on the attack half, but I'm going to flick forward to round 18 here. Where is that? Oh, perfect. That's right here. So to give you guys a summary of what Subroza's been doing on the attack half so far, he's been quite static most of the round. His job within the TSM default appears to be just holding a hookah push for the majority of it. You know, most of the time your Astra is going to be maybe holding a showers push or maybe holding a short push. Most teams don't have their Astra holding the hookah push, but that's normally because most teams have like a raise doing that, and TSM don't play with a raise. You know, normally you'll have the raise like Boombot, hookah, or something like that, and can maybe play there to try and take control later in the round. But TSM aren't playing with a raise, so it makes sense for Subroza to be playing in this position. But he's kind of playing quite statically in the early round. He's not over pushing. He's not giving away his life early on. He's just playing fairly disciplined as part of the TSM default. Not too bad at all. His standard stars have been in Octagon, in Hookah, and in Showers. So you can see here he's got 1 Octagon, 1 Deep Hookah, and 2 in Showers there. So he hasn't been using any of them by default. He hasn't been like always sucking showers or always sucking octagon or anything like that. He's not trying to heavily condition LG to not fight over some area of the map. He's saving his utility in the early round and trying to use it in a way that's going to be more impactful, you could argue. So this round, he's going to pull in showers as the flash comes through. This allows Corey to get there a little bit earlier. They throw a recon dart in there as well. And they're going to go for an ult. So this is part of the play that TSM are going for. It involves Subroza using that suck. Otherwise, again, like I said, just playing pretty disciplined, holding the hookah push. And he's going to save the majority of his stars for the A exec when it actually comes through. So I can skip things on a little bit here. You know, TSM are just trying to take showers control. Dog comes out. LG don't really do too much with the dog. Dazzle doesn't, sorry, not Dazzle, but Corey doesn't really scale off the drone either, though. So TSM have some level of presence in A, but, you know, Corey is now kind of contact working his way up. They've used another flash, so they've used both of their flashes and their drone to be able to take showers control. But they do control both of the extremities, and they know that there's been no push out of hookah because Subroza's been watching, and now they're starting to work up short. So TSM actually have a fuck ton of map control here once it gets to the late round, like 30-second mark. And this is where Subroza intends to use his stars for really big value as the site it comes through. So he's going to, you know, he has a star to try and pressure lamps here. He has double smokes to be able to cut off the front and the back of the site. They're going to use the Seekers, I think, in this round too. Yeah, here they come. And so, all in all, pretty standard, good-looking exec from TSM. It's just the time that's a little bit, could be a problem. But overall, not too much of an issue. Tig, I think, gets that kill through a smoke, but might be able to see. I think he can just see over the top of Subroza's smoke, but I'm not going to count that against Subroza. I think, you know, overall, the utility usage and the value that he got from it is really helpful for the rest of his team to be able to have a chance at winning this round. So, no big problems. So, that was just an example of what, like, the classic look from TSM has been on their attack halves. This is why I haven't brought up too many examples of that, because it's kind of, not boring, but it's just like, it's just Subroza getting decent value late round out of his utility. Doesn't use too much early, isn't going crazy. His stats are bonkers good because he's actually being really effective with his rifle when the team hits the sites. He's in good position to be able to get kills and trade out his teammates and stuff like that. But the utility usage isn't anything crazy. It's just putting his utility in similar positions. Again, one octagon, one hookah, one in showers. This time one in lamps as well, though. And yeah, all kind of normal stuff. So this round, this is where TSM got funky. All right, this is going to be some of the weirdest rounds you'll see from TSM. They've cooked up this strat in the lab, and it needs to go back to the beginning again. Because let's talk about what they're doing here. Waddell is AWPing, right? So Chamber can't really be playing aggressive with you. So Corey is your player that's going to be able to play the most aggressive. If you're going down short, then it needs to be Rossi that's playing aggressive with his Viper utility as well. You could have Rossi and Subroza play together. That would be fine. Or you could have Corey play with Rossi and Subroza maybe, and you triple push down there. The question is, what the fuck do you do with Waddell? He's essentially useless until you take some space and he can set up on a sightline because he's playing with the AWP on attack. So take a look at what goes on in this round. Oopsie daisy. Let me get back to where I was in my notes. Okay. So take a look at what goes on in this round. So we're going to kind of ignore some of the early round stuff where they look like they want to run a default. Seems like someone has commed here. I think Rossi was still IGLing at this point. I actually liked Subroza's IGLing later on in the tournament, but he was mostly playing Sky for that. Anyway, they've called some kind of strat here. So what is the strat? The Viper and the Sky are going to take showers control while they drone up short. And the problem with this strat basically boils down to one thing. You only have Subroza and Waddell pushing short off the back of this drone, and Waddell has an op. So you only have Subroza really pushing down short. You don't have the flash from Corey to be able to pop through the wall. You don't have the Viper, who's just really good at being able to play around their own utility to give you better timings and have another rifle. And watch Subroza here. I'm not blaming him necessarily for this. He drops the spike. The spike ends up going onto the Sova towards the back. And now Subroza is just on his own pushing short. Why is Subroza on his own pushing short? Because Waddell is AWPing. Because Waddell can't push short himself because he would just be in a nonsense position with the operator. And Aleko could be coming with him, and Rossi should be coming with him, but the way that they've allocated players actually just leaves Subroza alone here. So I'm not saying that this is a bad play by Subroza. I'm saying this is a bad setup for this strat. And they run this a number of times, and it always fails until they send someone with Subroza. So you see here, Subroza, completely on his own, manages to get that first kill, all right? Gets into lamps with that kill. Could have been disastrous, though. Could have been absolutely disastrous. Because it's essentially just a 1v1 for the round. If Subroza dies there, you're cooked. So let's go on to the next round. I said it failed every time. It actually did work this one. But it fails the next round when they do something very similar. So take a look. They're going to do the same thing this round. They're like, okay, that strat worked, but it worked for the wrong reason. It worked because Subroza got the kill because he's a good player. It didn't work because the strat made any level of sense or had any like plan B if Subroza just doesn't get the kill. So, all right, same strategy here again. Look, same setup. So they're going to put down Subroza's Astra utility early because he can't get into Astral form during this strat because he has to be leading the push. They dog to take showers control. They drone to take short control. So they have double drones coming down both of the lanes towards A. Subroza this time has the spike and is walking down short. Waddell still has an op. Subroza gets ulted. And now the spike is dropped in short. Waddell picks up the spike, but has an operator and is trying to plant while his team have not committed through. There are no smokes on the site, and Aleko's watching for a flank. I don't know what to say about this strat. It's just poo. I don't know what's going on here. There's no synergy between their players at all. And I think the players are in the wrong position to run a strat like that to begin with. So I'm so confused about what's occurring here. So Waddell is able to get this... Waddell's able to get that, but he can't rendezvous because he set up his rendezvous really early towards market. He didn't keep one of his rendezvous to be able to get out after he plants the spike. That would have been a great idea, actually. Have Waddell just take the spike and put down a rendezvous, you know, maybe into Cubby, or I guess the Cubby wouldn't reach, actually, but somewhere a little deeper, and you'll be able to get the spike down much easier, and he can still contribute whilst having an operator. Now Waddell is just recon darted up in a completely exposed position. Ends up dying, and they're playing 3v5 from the back. This to me seems like a really bad idea, and I'm not highlighting Subroza. I mean, he literally just died to a Sova ult here. But what I am saying is TSM's game plan is shite, and it makes their players look way worse than they are because they've come up with a game plan that they can't help each other. They can't help each other. Aleko is literally watching the flank that's covered by chamber trips. Doesn't help anybody. Doesn't push it up with the rest of his team. Like actual Hiko gameplay that I'm watching. The players at Showers don't push out bench to try and support Waddell and actually hold lamps so that he could do anything. I mean, Waddell could hold an angle at front sight for people swinging triple or something if his players came out and actually played a crossfire with him at bench. But no, they don't bother doing that. It's like... I don't know. The game plan is just totally missing from TSM. And because it works in some of the rounds, because Subroza gets the opening kill, I guess they are tricked into believing that the strategy is good. And that, to me, is the big... It's not the big problem, but it's a problem with TSM, is that they just have bad ideas like this. So, again, guys, they're going to do the same fucking thing next round. They're going to do the same thing. So this strat that they've been running now 3 rounds in a row worked the first time because Subroza got the first kill. Didn't work the second time. It was absolute chaos incarnate. And they're going to run it again. Same thing. They start looking like a bit of a default. You know, we could just be taking showers control for no good reason. Or not no good reason, but we could just be taking showers control for the sake of taking showers control. But in fact, they're going to group up. They're going to do the same thing again. So this time, what is different about it? This time there is something different. Rossi actually tries to go with Subroza down short, but isn't actually coordinated with them at all. Rossi is really far away from the drone, right? You want to be following the drone in this instance, which Subroza is doing, but Subroza has Spike, and the only person with him is Waddell, and Rossi, who would be really helpful for Subroza, is miles away. Impossible to trade Subroza in this kind of position. So, again, incredibly bizarre. It's like they realize that there's a problem, that Subroza's got too much weight on his shoulders here, but their adaptations are mishandled. Like, yeah, you want to wait for Rossi to actually get back to you. And maybe Waddell should be opping with the... maybe what, you know, like you could flash to get Waddell on this deep angle, and then you could walk Corey up, and then he could flash around the corner, and maybe you don't have to use the dog. Or maybe you dog early, and you don't see anyone, and Waddell takes the angle off that, and then you flash around the corner to get Waddell there. And so you have this like natural synergy between Corey and Waddell, if you don't want Corey to be flashing through the Viper wall in short anyway. But yeah, in this instance, Subroza's following the drone, Waddell's behind him. I mean, what is Waddell doing on this push, man? What is he doing? So, Subroza's going to walk the Spike down short, dies, there's a Viper molly, LG have the read on what's happening because they've done the same strat 3 rounds in a row, and now Subroza has walked the Spike down, no player to trade because Rossi's miles away and Waddell is opening, and you've lost the Spike at the bottom of short. It's not Subroza being a bad player, it's TSM being a bad team. They have, oh, not even a bad team. Well, yes, a bad team, but a bad game plan. It's a bad game plan that puts way too much weight on Subroza getting that opening kill. It's like actual entry Astra with the Spike without anyone to trade. And I just don't know why they would run the same strat 3 rounds in a row without making an adjustment to it that makes sense. That's the problem that I don't get. So now there's no smokes on the site again. The Spike is fully committed down short. Rossi tries to get it. He's vulnerable. It's fucking Papega all over the place. I mean, this round is lost at this point. This round is hardcore lost. The only chance for TSM to win this round would be pivoting through the teleport and going back to B, which is why Dazzle is making the rotate over to B now. Because TSM do actually control that teleporter, right? Anyway, this round ends up just being Papige, so I'm going to skip forwards. So now, it's 11-11. Oh my god. So, things get wonky here. It feels like TSM are at the end of the playbook now that it's getting to the later stages of their attacking half, and this game goes to OT as well and becomes criminal, actually. But okay, so what's the game plan here? Waddell has put down his rendezvous, and I know that this VOD review isn't really focusing on Waddell, but Waddell's AWPing on Chamber introduces so many problems for this team. So many problems for TSM. And some of them are because he isn't able to help the rest of his team effectively, like the short pushes that we've just watched 3 rounds in a row. And some of them are because he doesn't understand how Chamber Rendezvous works. I swear to God. I mean, he's got the rendezvous set up to take you from here to here in market. And I assume he wants to do that because he wants to be opping at the very beginning of the round, right? He wants his rendezvous to be set up right at the beginning of the round so that he can focus on holding that line instantly in case LG go for a insta push out into sand. But what it does for him, as Subroza helps Alico scale up, is that he gets baited into playing outside of his own rendezvous position. So look, gold lines on the outside of his screen, right? Inside his rendezvous position. And now walks out of his rendezvous stuff and just holds there and flashed and die. What's the point in having a game plan that revolves around your chamber pushing up into a sightline that he has no escape plan for? What's the brain waves going on there? I don't get it. I simply don't get it. Like, if you're trying to stop a hookah push, then you can op a more passive line. If you're trying to walk your op up to hookah, that smoke is a disaster for you, so you don't want to be doing that. And you probably need a teammate to help you get into position. Or at least a teammate to hold the angle, like have one teammate hold this angle while you push forward and put your rendezvous forward somewhere, I don't know, like tucked into this cubby, and the other one's in market. And at least then you can op an aggressive line once your teammate goes away. Do you see, though, the core problem being that these players don't play with each other to help each other? Like, no one helps Waddell set up on that deeper line. So he tries to do it all on his own, and it just becomes a fucking mess. Yeah, that's LG's smoke. I'm not saying that's his smoke, but what I'm saying is when LG puts that smoke there, you can't op that kind of position because you're pushing your op into that kind of sight line to eventually op into hookah and try and catch people who are jiggling or whatever. But this is just, it's so dangerous playing outside of your rendezvous location against a smoke like that. Even if they just swing, because they could be swinging from multiple positions inside the smoke. It just doesn't make sense, man. It just doesn't make sense. Anyway, this is a new default setup for TSM that they haven't run before with AKREW and Subroza pushing up B long together. They turned this one into a recall smoke, which I like. A lot of teams do that, where, you know, your player that's playing an octagon on the defense doesn't want to stand on top of the orb, doesn't want to stand on top of the star in case it gets turned into a suck or something like this. But also, it's just really effective as a recall smoke to allow you to get posted up on this kind of angle that AKREW's holding now. And it lets you cross the sight line from like cubby to long and get an angle where you're favored against any defenders who are tucked into this position. So I like that utility usage from Subroza in this round. But I'm really confused what happens here because TSM are in a 4v5 and when this drone comes through, Subroza tries to break it. Okay, it's smoked off. Subroza then takes the teleport and instead of putting down like a fake smoke to cross showers, they don't have any info showers. He just ego duels. I mean, he wins, but you can't be telling me that that's the play. So that also confuses me. But all right. He just ego duels the op that he doesn't know is holding that angle and booms them because he's an incredible aimer. And all right, now they can pivot into a B hit. They use their Seekers, but this is, I mean, I was molding when I did a live watch party of this, because this is where they think that they've got a fake going because of the teleport, they get the pick, and they push into B, but they drone. They like Astra Wall. They Astra Wall to fake like it's a B hit, but then they drone past their own Astra Wall, which messes up the timing and allows their Astra to get into elbow, and the entire thing goes wrong because they're so scared of being able to take the space, and Tig just creeps out. No response from Corey, and Tig wins the round because TSM are just way too slow to capitalize on their fake. So, not Subroza's fault. I mean, you know, the Astra Wall feels like it fucks TSM up, but I think it doesn't. I think they just have to run through it or flash through it. I don't know whether they had a flash in that moment, but certainly just double pushing through the Astra Wall, I think should be fine there. Anyway, incredibly weird. So, I could show you this round, but frankly, I'm getting bored right now, so I'm going to skip forwards to round 26. Because, you know that short push that they did? Here it is again. Wait, no, this is round 25. Is it round 25 that they did this? No, this wasn't the short push. This was them doing a lurk play. But, okay. So, they do the same play this time around. So, again, here's what's going on, right? They're going to do that play. You know the play that I was talking about for 3 rounds in a row? I can't exactly remember which rounds it was, but it was like this round, and this round. It worked 1 out of 3 times because Subroza was able to get that first pick. And they like drone down short and dog into showers, and they're trying to do this like look play down behind the Viper wall. They're going to do that again this round. And my question here is, why the hell does Waddell buy an AWP if that's your game plan? Don't know, but okay. They do actually make some adjustments though this time. Is this the same round? Maybe this isn't. Maybe I mismarked this in my notes. Because it doesn't look like it to start with, right? They're using their drone to clear showers early. And they don't have anybody pushing off the back of it. So they haven't actually got any... I mean, LG think there's presence in showers, but TSM actually don't have any control in showers. They're using their drone and their recon just to get players in there. All right. Whatever. Oh, this is what they do this round. They fake the B push. They fake the B push and then they go into a short push. I remember now. So I'm pretty sure there's some kind of like fake smoke that goes on here. Yeah, there's 2 Astra stars that go down here from Subroza. Which I think is like a pull. I don't know. Maybe that was a suck or something. I'm not exactly sure what that was in hookah. But they have Corey over here who dogs. They pull back this smoke. The dog gets up. It looks a bit like a B push, right? Because they've put down that Astra utility. They've dogged. They've forced out the smoke here, so LG don't have any information towards hookah. They've actually drawn the rotate over from the Sova. And now they're going to go for this push. And this time, what I love is that Rossi is actually close to Subroza here. So as Subroza entries down short, Rossi is behind him. So if Subroza doesn't get that first kill, Rossi is going to be able to get the trade. Why does Waddell have an AWP? I think this is more of a late round decision to go for this play down short rather than a pre-planned thing from the very beginning. So I guess my criticism about Waddell opening doesn't really make sense here. But this becomes Papega Fest very quickly. So here they have Subroza playing with Rossi. They swing together. So even though they find the timing here really nicely on Subroza, really nicely on Moose, even if Moose had got this first kill, Rossi would have got the trade. That's a massive difference compared to the previous times that they ran this round. So that's pretty huge. But then, I don't know what's going on here, but they smoke this plant position, and it allows B-Dog to get 2. Alico can't get the trade. Subroza has put down this smoke for the plant. Maybe because he's worried about a recon dart coming through. And Subroza eventually gets this trade kill. So I don't exactly know why they went for that, rather than just breaking recon for the people holding sight, or, you know, like smoking here and here. But they molly here and here, and they smoke the plant, which seems very unusual to me, but I don't exactly know what TSM were afraid of, so I can't say it's horrendous. But this is the kind of round where I'd love to see Waddell just use his rendezvous to be able to get down the plant. You know, give Waddell. Waddell is being useless in these short pushes. Useless, man. So give him the spike. Let him set up his rendezvous to teleport away after he plants. And then the rest of TSM can be guns out, holding angles to make sure that this kind of shit doesn't happen. I think that would be a massive improvement, and it's just something that TSM are not doing currently. And this round devolves into some wild papegerie. So obviously Waddell does get back into his rendezvous range here, but Dazzle is just allowed so much room. I mean, they're worried about the smoke, but in the end, this goes down to a 2v2 where the TSM players are incredibly weak, and LG have a ton of positioning on the site because that smoke gives them a lot of room because the TSM players can't hold angles for each other. You know, if you just path down short and Waddell has the spike, Subroza can hold lamps, Rossi holds the site with Alico, and Corey plays showers late. Why all of the nonsense with the smoke on the site and Waddell trying to, like, hold something with his op, and then eventually he plants because 2 of the players died and the smoke, I don't know. Very, very weird. Very weird. So even this round where they fixed one of the key problems, I think, which was Subroza and Rossi need to be playing together when they path down short like that, there was still a lot of chaos once they actually hit the site. And it feels so on-the-fly chaotic. Like, TSM can't control the map very well. Do I have anything else to talk about here? Yeah, I do. Fuck me. Round 28 was a disaster too. So let's skip forward to that round. Oh wait, this is round 28. Okay, so round 28. LG are going to go for a slightly different hold. LG double up in showers. TSM are on their attack. They've got, I mean, similar kind of stars being used here. Normally this star would go inside Octagon. And you've got the double shower smokes, or double shower stars, which Subroza's been doing all the time. So they're going to flash into showers. There's a recon dart that lands inside hookah. Kind of unusual, but it gives you the information if there's anybody playing in there, right? Even if it gets broken, you're like, okay, they actually have someone playing inside hookah. little flash there, keeping TSM on their toes, but they're holding a pretty just safe default. I was saying that Subroza was mostly just being disciplined and holding hookah in the majority of these attack rounds early, but this time Wardell is holding it with presumably an operator, though I didn't actually look at the look at it. So Corey's going to go for a dog here. There's about a minute on the clock. I think they wait a little longer. Wardell's pushing up. Again, outside of the range of his rendezvous. Or maybe didn't even have a rendezvous down. I'm not sure about that one. So this time, right, TSM are taking short control. They've got Subroza, they've got Rossi working together. I like this. I like the fact that they've adjusted this. Took them quite a while, but they have done it. So anyway, sorry. So in the meantime, while I was talking about Waddell, Corey has dogged into showers, and Corey saw the Viper, and then they saw the recon dart, so they know that there's two players showers, they know that the Sova and the Viper are there, and there's an immediate reaction, which I really like from TSM. I really like this initiative taken by Subroza and Rossi to take short control, because max, there's going to be one guy playing like backside, lamp, something like that, and a lot of the time there's only going to be two players playing there, especially if they think that the recon dart getting broken early means that there's 3 on B. So, anyway, they take lamps immediately. I really like this idea. And I would anticipate this being a situation where, like, Corey now comes towards short. They flash out. They try and take sight control with lamps. So they have front sight control. They have lamps control. And maybe they give showers for now. And they make some kind of post-lamp play, right? That's, like, how I would anticipate this round playing out. Actually, what ends up happening is a recon dart gets used backside. And Subroza makes the play to go into their spawn. So Subroza goes into their spawn, catches the kill on Marder, but the problem is this leaves Wardell and Rossi to plant. And as we've discussed many times before, Subroza and Rossi need to be holding hands because Wardell is just not helpful here. He has an operator holding an extremely close range angle against a Viper wall that anyone could pop through. So Wardell again does not have the spike, by the way, with the op. He's letting Rossi plant, and Wardell is trying to cover with the operator. That, to me, is just nonsense. I don't get it. So, again, the normal way that I would try and construct this is Subroza and Rossi are pathing together to try and trade for each other and try and take the space and then hold angles for people. And Wardell, because he has an operator, which isn't as useful in these close range situations, would be trying to get the plant down while Rossi and Subroza hold angles for him. You know, maybe Subroza holds lamps and Rossi just holds this front sight, and maybe Corey comes down short as well, and you have these two players with rifles that can hold while Wardell gets this. Instead, the only player defending this spike going down is Wardell, because Subroza's abandoned them and Wardell is opping, which I think doesn't make sense. It's so exploitable. So as they come through here, Wardell turns his back anyway, so it doesn't even matter. He wasn't even holding anything. He's going back towards lamps. So thankfully, Rossi gets the spike down, okay? Thankfully, Rossi actually gets the spike down here. Otherwise, complete Papige disaster for TSM. But it still becomes Papige. Because Wardell ends up getting picked off because he's just running around with his operator out. Like, what? And now Subroza is completely isolated heaven in a 3v4. He's in a position where it would have been awesome if everything worked well, but he's in one of those positions where he can't actually help his team recover the disadvantage that they're in. He's made the play that, like, sucks you up kills, but doesn't help you win the round. Like, doesn't help you cement your advantage. And that, I think, again, recurring issue with how Subroza thinks about the game, I think. So here, like I said, Subroza just gets stuck in a position where he can't do anything. He's worried about his back. He's worried about people on site. He tries to smoke this off, which makes a lot of sense so that he can isolate. Actually, I think he jiggle peeks that. Smokes it off. He ends up getting recon darted and smoked off here. So he can't do anything from heaven. And essentially, Subroza just has to watch his team lose. I mean, he can't even walk into that smoke because of the recon dart. So he just has to sit there completely useless and watch the rest of his team lose. So, what's the problem in this round? I think the problem is that, and it's something I've discussed a lot on TSM, is that Subroza and Wardell's decision-making isn't catastrophic individually, but when you combine them together, it creates an almost untenable working environment for TSM. That's my read on this, is that if you had only Subroza going to make that play, and instead of Wardell on your team, you had just random unnamed chamber with a rifle, that play would probably be fine. You have that one chaotic element that gets added in from Subroza, and he did find that kill, and if the plant goes down and you're able to avoid the swing through the Viper wall, then yeah, things are fine. If you only have Wardell opping, and everything you do has to be built around that, and Subroza and Rossi's positions have to be much tighter as a result, that would also be fine. Subroza and Rossi would just have to play in a way that makes up for the fact that Wardell can't do some of these things. That would be fine. But in rounds like this, you get them both doing stuff, and that is so exploitable, incredibly exploitable, and will lose them so many rounds against good teams, as it did here. And it happens over and over and over again. And that, to me, is why it's not the fault of Subroza, and it's not the fault of Wardell, but the combination of styles don't work together, and something has to give. And to me, I think the person that has to give is probably going to be Subroza, because he has a good enough rest of his game to be able to give up the playmaking tendencies that he goes for, and like the early round fighting or the general tendency to rifle or like hunt for kills. I think he can give up that and still be a really good player. Like he's got the base level that you would absolutely need. Unless you somehow manage to just take an op out of Wardell's hands 50% of the time, Wardell is not going to be more helpful unless like that playstyle massively changes. So I see Subroza as the more flexible element here that might be able to bend and give TSM some help. And yeah, you're right. I mean, LG aren't even that great of a team, but if they played against better teams, they'd be getting punished even more than against LG. Should we watch this final round? I mean, the final round was mega papega, but yeah, I think we should actually, because the final round is also important. So, right, 15-14. Wait, no, this isn't the final round. My apologies. But this is... Wait, no. Yeah, no, this is the final round. It is the final round. TSM end up winning this, and it's still papega. So I wanted to show you it. So let's kind of, again, follow the game from Subroza's point of view. He's smoking Fountain. So he hasn't really done this too much, where he puts the smoke at Fountain. But now that he's playing with Wardell, they're going to do that. They smoke, but neither of them actually use the smoke to dodge the flash at all. And they both get flashed and full blinded. And now there's just a smoke in long. So that feels like something they haven't practiced too much, or haven't really, I don't know, didn't have a good idea of what the timing of the flash was going to be, perhaps, something like that. But anyway, they're trying to catch Marta jump peeking long. Corey's dog here that comes through hookah doesn't see Tig. Corey's dog, little greyhound, leaps out, doesn't see Tig, and so Corey ends up getting killed here. So that's what's happening over in hookah. So now let's focus on what's happening over towards long. TSM's teamwork completely breaks down here. So Marta gets tagged. There's a drone. Again, here's what I'm saying. Tig got the kill on Corey. And now, as people start to push into the site from TSM, their players are assuming that others are holding angles for them. So here, you're going to see B-Dog swing back site. And Rossi, I believe, assumes that somebody is holding back site for him. Like Wardell or Subroza. You can see Subroza at the moment is actually holding back site. But for whatever reason, as the recon dart comes through, I don't think this recon dart could have actually seen Subroza at all in Octagon, but he backs off the angle. And now Rossi doesn't have anyone holding back site for him. And Rossi's holding this kind of diagonal. And so Rossi ends up dying, just not looking at B-Dog at all. And that's a failure of the teamwork. Rossi is assuming that somebody's holding that angle for him, be it Wardell, be it Subroza. Wardell wasn't able to because of the recon dart. Subroza I think just backed up because he thought the recon dart was going to be able to see him. But anyway, they don't have a player holding back sight, so Rossi ends up dying. So now this is a 3v5. They win this round, by the way. So now this is a 3v5. Subroza manages to swing here, and he's a good player, gets this kill. And here's another thing I really like about how Subroza plays this. He, after this flash, turns the flash, kills Mana as well. Really good play by Subroza to be able to recover this round. And here's another thing he does excellently. He scales really confidently. He gets in. Look, he's taking all of this space based off the picks. So now, even though AKREW and Waddell are not in the greatest positions, they actually have a player that's pushed forward on the site that could be swinging around the other side and starts to put pressure on Dazzle, right? And is going to help the rest of his teammates try to get in. But Subroza has the spike and he decides to run into Hookah. And I don't know why he does this. I simply don't understand why he does this at all. Subroza has an Astra star in Hookah. He could just smoke that off. And he could try and work with Waddell to push forwards. Now, by the way, again, Waddell's AWPing does not help them in this kind of situation at all. It is a liability for them because it's much more difficult for him to be able to hold real angles, and AKREW is playing too passively in these situations. So there are definitely other problems on the team besides Subroza. I don't want to make this sound like it's all Subroza, but 100% in a 3v3, running your way into Hookah and getting killed is a throw. He puts up his smoke. They hear him do this, by the way. He doesn't do it silently. He gets his kill. Dazzle gets the trade. And now the spike is dropped in Hookah. And the only way they save this is because Waddell is a good player and wins a 1v2 from an incredibly unexpected position with, I can't even remember whether it's his rifle or whether it's whatever, his op or whether it's his pistol or whatever at the end. But he ends up winning this. Yeah, with the op. And that is just such a TSM round. Such a TSM round, man. It's just all of the elements of the teamwork are not there, but they still win. And I think it leads people to believe that the players are insanely good, but the player decision-making is still quite Papega in some of these instances. Just a mad round with both Subroza and Waddell again making the play instead of playing to use their teamwork to create an advantage. They just each individually tried to make the game-winning clutch, and Subroza's like, I accidentally fed, and Waddell's like, it turns out my game-winning clutch actually worked. So, yeah. I think this map is actually really illuminating in terms of some of the problems with TSM as a team, and how the way in which Waddell and Subroza play is difficult for other people to play around. But they have some things they do fantastically well. And it's about trying to improve the stuff without ruining all the rest of what they do. Okay. I mean, can we even be bothered doing the rest of this? Yeah, fuck it. Let's do it. I mean, we're already there now. Might as well. Might as well. So, let's have a look at this one. So this is TSM running. I would consider this to be a worse composition than the one that they ran afterwards, where they swapped Corey over to the Rays and they swapped Rossi over to the Viper. I think this is a worse comp. But let's take a look at how Subroza fits into this comp, because Subroza is the solo Astra here. So,
not good to be there because we've seen teams try to
if we take a look at this, I think the general theme of Subroza's Astra on this map is much more what people are talking about, with him being crazy aggro, right? Like, really aggressive player whilst being a smoke player. So here we've got TSM forcing up, right? So this is them forcing second round. AKREW have the slightly better buy. They have an extra Spectre. They have full armor on everybody. And you would anticipate Corey being the entry in most of these situations. Corey is actually going to be playing alone towards Dish. And the question becomes, who actually capitalizes on Aleko's utility here in halls? And I think most teams would be like, okay, well, maybe it's our chamber. Our chamber has, I mean, the chamber doesn't actually have the gun this time around, so maybe not. But it's probably going to be the chamber a lot of the time. If you're running a comp like this, you're anticipating your chamber to be playing a bit more like a duelist. And your KO to be playing a bit more like a duelist as well. But it's actually Subroza that ends up taking the brunt on a lot of these. So you see how pushed far forward he is compared to everybody else. Using his suck, using his stun to try and take this duel. Nobody is in a position to try and trade him. He gets the kill. He gets traded. Now they have no smokes. Corey does manage to find a really nice timing off the back of that, but it becomes a 3v3, and now they don't have any smokes, right? So you have no way of being able to smoke off the rope. You have no way of being able to smoke off A-Link, and so you can't stop this crossfire between Com. You can't stop that kill from happening, and you are really not favored in the round overall. A Rich Hamster, thank you for the gifted. Thank you, thank you. You are a TSM level player? No, I am horribly, horribly worse than TSM. My decision making is atrocious. Atrocious.
Sideshow aims to cure world hunger.
But I hold myself to a different standard than I hold pro players. Because I'm not spending 8 hours a day trying to get good at the game, and I don't have the raw talent to be anywhere near that anyway. But do you understand how Subroza's early round aggression there actively hurt his team? I mean, that Com's kill would not happen if, for example, Waddell was the first person that went in there and took that trade. Or they had Waddell being the player that was holding Dish, and they had Corey go in first. You know, having those smokes available for the site hit is an incredibly important component. And it's not like they were taking an eco there where Subroza can take these crazy risks. That was a force round. So I don't really agree with the general way in which he played that. I think going 1-for-1 there does not help him because it hurts TSM on the site hit. So let's have a look at round 4. So round 4 is AKREW going for their classic tree take. So here it is. So AKREW have a really nice tree take here. Just to describe it a little bit, they have early flash. Kanpeki throws his stun. So they throw this stun, it bounces boom off this diagonal wall. The stun catches anybody like Waddell that tries to path early. And then they have the Astra utility to be able to isolate Waddell from everybody else. So, okay, TSM don't have any idea about how this setup works at the beginning of this map. AKREW, basically, this was the first time that they pulled it out. So even if you looked at their match VOD data, you wouldn't have known that this hit was coming through. So not blaming TSM for running into that at all. Waddell gets caught. And it looks like here, Subroza makes the call, I would imagine, to retake tree, right? And to try and, like, once this stun disappears, once the Astra suck disappears, trying to retake tree by double swinging through with a flash or something like that. So you see Subroza and Rossi are coming close. Subroza walks into the smoke. Rossi is miles away. And this, I don't know whether it's like a comm breakdown or what, but Subroza is clearly communicating for the flash here. Subroza wants to flash retake tree, but Rossi's miles away. And I don't know whether Subroza is unaware as to Rossi's position, or Rossi was told to get inside the smoke and just didn't, and so it's Rossi's fault. I don't know what the flaw is here in what TSM are doing, but there's a common breakdown that happens here that leads to a flash. Subroza pushes through too early, gets team flashed. There isn't a double peek, and they both end up dying. Now, the way in which they end up dying isn't actually directly because of the mistakes that they made, but the sloppy way in which they decided to retake tree indicates some pretty heavy team miscommunication that's happening there. So that's another little issue there. MJ, thank you for the prime. And let's have a look. Let's skip forwards to something like round 7. AKREW were essentially rolling this game, so I don't have too many pointers. I just want to point out like some of the small things that I think TSM could be doing better. That was the round where Waddell killed like 5 players, so they ended up winning. All right, so let's have a look. TSM take a timeout, and we're coming into round 7. So, and I just want to take a look at some of the utility that Subroza is using here as solo Astra. And this is probably one of the reasons that they ended up transitioning into double controller on this map, because Subroza's just kind of doing the same thing a lot of the time here, where they stun and they suck to try and take Hall's control. This can become a smoke, and apart from that, there isn't really any B utility that's being used to like help his team take tree control or smoke at the top of here as they take arcade or whatever. You know, there's like, the game plan is basically just these 2 smokes, or sometimes there's a 3rd smoke that goes down immediately on A-Link, and that's about it in terms of their Astra utility on attack. There's pretty much nothing that happens towards the B side. And obviously when you layer a Viper in there with Rossi, things become much easier for them to just focus on one half of the map with Subroza.
I don't know. I just feel like the efficiency margin maybe isn't as much as the paper would kind of lead you to believe.
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
And if you just kind of keep track of what utility Subroza uses over the course of this round, it definitely feels like Subroza is trying to save one for post-plant, which makes a lot of sense, right? You're on Fracture, you want to save one so that when you get into the post-plant position, you're fine. But he sucks early here for them to take control, so they flash and they suck early. Do they need to do that every round? Probably not every round, but we're in round 7. Maybe they still feel like it's necessary. They smoke here as well, so Subroza's used 2 out of 5 of his stars. And they've taken a Hall's control, right? They've got presence. As far as AKREW are concerned, TSM have presence all the way up to here in Halls, and they've got presence towards Sand. And maybe at some point they might be worried about them looking into Spawn if they'd done it previously, which they haven't. But okay. But now, as things from TSM go towards B, Subroza is kind of limited because you have to use those smokes to be able to cut off Chamber and Jenny. But it really feels like he wants to try and save one for the post plant too. He does have 3. Waddell dies. Oh yeah, sorry. He uses his Astra Wall here. So he uses his Astra Wall instead of the smoke, right? Which makes a lot of sense to me as well. And then he's got 2 pieces of utility that he puts down there. I think one of my issues with the way that they take arcade control is just that there's no assistance from anybody else. You know, they're kind of limited because they don't have that Viper to be able to work with too, but there's no smoke that happens at the top here. They're just trying to contact take arcade. Is that a problem? No, I don't really think it's a problem. I mean, Waddell's going to try and get set up onto this long angle while Corey holds Heaven, so it doesn't seem like a big issue to me that there isn't any Astra utility for them to take arcade. It makes it more difficult for AKREW to figure out when in the round they're taking arcade. Waddell might be able to just find those aggressive operator picks. But then, as the site hit comes through, they're going to, I think, stun there on the site. Something like that. I don't exactly know what they did there with their site utility. And Subroza's trying to keep this 1 star for post-plant, I think. But they haven't actually taken any site control. They got stopped by the breach ult, stopped by the raise nade. And this is just really difficult for them to get in. But it's not Subroza's fault, you know. It's just an interesting look at what he would do when the B site hit comes through. But I think that one of the massive things that's missing there from TSM's round is that when there's such a tension on stopping this stairs push come through, there needs to be a bit of a reaction to play up into showers, I think. And that's where your Astra utility can find huge amounts of value. If you can put, you know, like a pull or a stun or something in this back corridor for Corey to get into the tower, that's where Corey can start being your playmaker. And at the moment, Corey's having to play incredibly passively in these rounds. For whatever reason, they don't have Corey as being like the initiative taker, even though he's playing the KO here. He's been like holding dish for them. He's like trying to help Waddell get set up on angles. It just really neuters Corey's impact. Round 12 actually is one of those examples where Corey plays aggressively though. This is the final round of the half, and Corey takes the lead. And I just wanted to use it as a contrast to show how much better it looks when that is the setup. Because that was something that we were commenting on when we were doing a watch party of this game, was that the roles of Corey and Subroza seem to be kind of swapped on this map in terms of who's taking the lead on these pushes. So TSM are going to try and I mean, this is just a clusterfuck that's going to be occurring towards tree, because AKREW are running their tree take, and there's 5 players from TSM trying to counter it. I don't know whether TSM have the read that this is going to happen or what, but this is
1 assist so far.
I don't know.
The 4 and 10 is...
So Waddell has a rifle here, and Corey is playing at the front of the pack. So knife comes through, turn the flash. Corey's right at the front here. They've got the rest of the players spamming to try and defend. And Waddell is able to help because he's spamming the smoke. Corey is playing aggressively and taking a lot of space and scaling up off the pick that they got, pushing Pancakes back. Like, this adds so much more tempo into their play. Also, it helps, obviously, that Corey is able to get that first pick for them. But I don't think TSM knew that AKREW were going to be running that fast play. So there's a bit of RNG involved in terms of, are AKREW going to be playing aggressively there in the first place?
Let's get away. And actually peek. Flash comes through to push him
So
back.
here's the Astra utility as well. Doesn't actually end up being that impactful. But Corey is at the front, entrying, pushing forwards, taking space, applying pressure to the side anchors. That was such a better round with the players who are more supportive, helping a lot. The players who have the entry capabilities like Corey, entering and showing you what they're capable of. Like such a better case. Ranked after this map? Yeah, I've actually got like half of the next map to look at as well, but it'll only take 5 minutes. So yeah, I'll play ranked after this. Who would you compare TSM to in EMEA? I don't even know. I don't know. I don't think there is a team in EMEA that plays like TSM. I don't think there's a team in the world that plays like TSM. There's no team that has Waddell. There's no team that has Waddell. That's a fact. But there's also no team that plays with their AWP having an AWP in 50% of their rounds. I don't know what the current stats are, but that used to be the stats for TSM. That he literally had an AWP 50% of their rounds. Attack, defense, everything. 50% of the rounds he has an AWP. Most people are sat towards like CNET, for example, was sat at 30, 34. And Waddell's at 50% of the time. Like nearly double some of the people you would otherwise think of as they have an AWP in their hands fairly regularly. You know, it's like fucking crazy. There's no team like TSM. For better or worse.
Stuns, you have, you know, Killjoys.
So this is a round where Subroza's utility is used really nicely. They just have a stun suck combo. Oops, I've got a bloody pause here. So let's watch this work. So here they've got like the fault line, they've got the suck. I mean, really common combo. Subroza swings on it and gets the kill.
Subroza, nice start, gets a trap onto Neon and gets the frag.
I mean, that's like a combo you can use in your ranked games. Extremely basic kind of stuff.
This actually puts a lot of pressure on AKREW who were looking to kind of
The rest of the round is not particularly intriguing, so we'll move on to round 14.
off the pistol lost now.
So this is another attempt at the same trap play as far as I'm aware, where there's the fault line, there's a suck, but this time it's triggered off Waddell's contact, which I kind of like. I like a lot of teams that do this, where the chamber triggers the trap timing. So here, you know, Waddell is just holding the angle.
We've seen that a couple of different times, and it's really been successful.
I mean, he can rendezvous out of the situation, right? So he's just waiting to take contact. And here he takes contact. Look, so Waddell takes contact. That triggers the fault line. That triggers the suck. And the only reason that AKREW doesn't die here to Subroza is that they throw this raise nade. And that's a really nice adaptation from Neon that stops Subroza being able to follow up. Otherwise, really nice trap play that I think is a great addition to TSM's setups. Most of the time, Waddell's contact does not trigger a response from the rest of his team. Sometimes it triggers Subroza to flash. Like, for example, sometimes when they play split defense, Waddell will be opening B main, and Subroza will be playing like tight on the corner with him, and when Waddell takes a shot, he'll flash. Sometimes that happens, but a lot of the time Waddell is just playing positions where he doesn't really trigger any response from the rest of his team on defense. So I really like this setup. It didn't work because Neon's got good awareness, but it was a good idea.
Aggressive, you know you have the firepower, grab well, paint shells combo.
One of the issues here though is Subroza puts down another star and you're against an eco round, and Subroza decides to push himself into a one and done against an eco. So if you watch Subroza here, he gets a bit antsy. And eventually he's like, yeah, give me the kills, give me the kills. So now he sets himself into a one and done, right? Don't really like this play. There's a flash. Subroza tries to suck off it. Gets the kill onto Neon. Now he's stunned. If Aleko needs to run forwards to try and help him. And Aleko does bail him out. And they use Subroza as bait. But Subroza dies. And Aleko dies. And so overall here, you've traded 2 for 2. That's not good against an eco round. So that's again Subroza's tendency of trying to get into aggressive one-and-done positions, really coming back to bite them against ecos. And it happens a lot on the eco rounds. So these are the rounds that really stick in my mind as like the ones where Subroza tries to throw it for TSM. Because it requires other players on his team to come and bail him out, and then they get stuck in unfortunate situations like Aleko does here, and you've given guns over to your opponent, and It just ruins all of the good play that you have in the prior rounds.
At least find one.
So, skip forward here.
Dropped over towards a Halls.
TSM do end up winning that round. It doesn't actually lose them the round, but could have, for sure.
Still, TSM very much.
And here, let's take a look at round 15. So, TSM stuns early Arcade, and Subroza is going to push all the way out underneath tunnel.
The thing is, TSM have at least not yet thrown their breach up towards drop. That was a big problem.
And TSM don't have any information towards this area of the map, towards tree. And Subroza's just walking underneath, looking for the kill.
They're just kind of playing back and waiting to see if TSM are going to aggress this top.
It's risky, right? He's the solo smoker on his team. And he also has the pull and a lot of stuff to be able to deny the plant going down, to be useful in retakes, that kind of thing. And he's making the risky move. And he does this a lot on Fracture Defense. It's not as bad when you have Viper Astra, arguably, but still, the util is really... I mean, there's a really funky interaction here where he just doesn't see Com, goes into Astral form, and then realizes that Com's there. But definitely a high risk, high reward play from Subroza. I don't think it's a bad idea to throw in occasionally, but he tends to do it a lot on Fracture, which is why I'm highlighting it now. So let's skip forwards anyway.
Good information here for Corey.
Let's move forward to round 17. Oh, this is round 17. Okay, so Waddell is opening this round. And they have the trademark in Dish. So take a look at where the utility is to start. They have star, star, double star, and another star. So Subroza puts down all of his stars at the very beginning of the round. And then they're going to push past the trademark with the breach utility. So Aleko is playing here with Subroza to flush out Dish in this round. So when he puts himself, when they play aggro past Dish, Subroza is going to have to keep his gun out for the rest of the round. He can't really go into Astral form. Like, when Subroza is playing here, pushed up in Dish, he can't go into Astral form, really. I mean, he can, but the chances of him getting timinged become pretty high in this area. It's an area of the map that people like to contact into. You don't have too much information where they're playing. So, yeah. The other thing is, too, he recalls all of these smokes. He put down smokes early. He turns that one into an actual smoke. And then he basically recalls all of the others.
And this changes everything for AKREW.
By 1 minute 20 on the clock.
Yeah, look at the defensive pressure through.
So now when Waddell gets pressured in halls, they have no stars there anymore to be able to play around. And Subroza puts one down for himself, but doesn't put anything down for Waddell. Like, for example, a suck here would be really useful for Waddell, right? Because if you put a suck, Waddell can shoot, and then you suck immediately, and Waddell can feel more confident being able to try and get back up on this aggressive angle because they couldn't have pushed into holes already because of the suck. So there's like opportunities to make those kind of plays that Subroza forfeits in this kind of situation because he wants to be played pushed up with his gun out a lot. And he recalled all of his stuff.
As an operator with him, one shot and get out would be the question. Can he do it? This is the first.
So Waddell teleports away. You've given Halls control. Okay. So now Subroza goes into Astral form inside his smoke here. Again, that's risky because when they're pressuring Halls, a lot of the time they're also going to be coming Dish. And if they're coming Dish, at the same time as you put that smoke down, they're probably going to be wanting to try and get into your smoke. So his positioning is inherently risky. He's not going to get punished this time. Obviously, there's nobody around him whatsoever, but he doesn't know that. So Subroza goes for a peek, sees that there's nobody bridge side, so now he can feel a bit more comfortable, right? Now he has that level of information. He can feel a bit more comfortable. But I think Subroza believes that this read means it's no longer an A hit. And they're worried because of this Viper utility that there could be players grouping up to go for a B split right now. So they're going to end up stacking like 4 players towards B and only Waddell on A. And this read is just wrong. Is it understandable though? Yeah, I think so. I mean, a lot of the time AKREW are going to be splitting A. Like I talked about, that's why it's risky for Subroza to be playing that position in Astral form. But I think it's a reasonable read from Subroza that when he sees bridges clear, he's like, okay, probably that A holes pressure early was a bit of a fake.
Wardell here, and again, they have a lot.
But Wardell might be able to hear them jump peeking and stuff over by A at the moment. And now the Astra smokes are coming down, or the Astra stuff is coming down. And at this point, I mean, Wardell just has to teleport away again. And thankfully, he does have his rendezvous online. And Subroza is, I mean, just fucking miles away. I mean, just so far, so far away. And he essentially has zero impact in this round because he didn't use very much of his... I mean, I guess he fully clears out Dish, which is useful for them, and it's still a fine position to be playing in for the post-plant, so I think that's a little harsh to say that he has zero impact in the round, but the utility is not helpful for the rest of his team. And then Subroza runs in, hard to retake against Viper's Pit, and they end up losing. So...
But they didn't get any entries with it, and so it turns into this awkward 5-on-5 situation on a site where essentially one of the TSM...
So this is, again, Subroza going to be pushing out again in this round. So take a look at round 18 here. Subroza and Rossi are going to be pushing out Arcade.
Blind shot very well may have been a huge difference maker as well. But AKREW on pistols with a stinger.
So they play A early on.
Over towards B.
Somebody around Arcade.
Bench rather, not desk. There's no desk over there.
They try and push towards A. Wait, is this the round? Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong round, actually. Oh, yeah, this is the next round. My bad. Let's take a look at this next one. Okay, so round 19. So TSM have rifles again. And they've got 5 players stacked on B to start. I don't know exactly why. There's no ult here to have a read into other than potentially the Astra ult. I mean, quite a lot of the time I would imagine Astra ults are going to want to Astra ult to close off Generator and Canteen, but I think Astra ulting A is also pretty reasonable, so I don't know exactly what the read is here. But anyway, Wardell goes for this push and dies, which not his fault. Well, I mean, not his fault, but more good play by AKREW, I would say. The Viper Molly is good, so that he's vulnerable. He could die to a rifle much more easily, but also Neon is holding this angle, just expecting Wardell to do this. So not a bad decision by Wardell to go for that early, but it just doesn't have anybody looking to set him up. There's no like flash or stun or anything like that as far as I could tell. I mean, maybe there was a flash from Corey actually, because he's only got 1 right now. So maybe that came through. I don't know. Anyway, the point is, Subroza and Rossi are going to be pushing forwards in this round. But as soon as Wardell dies, Tree is compromised, right? So these guys are pushing out Arcade. But now, in their position, they're kind of fucked because this strategy relies on Wardell holding this lane. If these players can now push under tunnel, well, Subroza and Rossi are in the middle of no man's land. Subroza's going to have to look in this direction. Rossi's going to have to look in this direction. They're worried about getting crunched. Subroza is again pushed up into a place where he can't get into astral form very easily. Does get into astral form exactly as his smoke disappears and gets killed by Kampeki. So this is like, again, one of those scenarios where Subroza is pushing himself into risky spots because his team doesn't control other avenues or he just needs to have his gun out because he's pushed up. Goes into astral form at the exact wrong moment because of the timing of his smoke, ends up dying. Rossi does manage to get the trade in this instance, but now Rossi's in a bad position. And does he die? Yeah, he does. But Rossi's in such a bad position because tunnel is not being held by Wardell early. So that's where there needs to be an abort button for TSM, you know? Like that strat just doesn't work without Wardell having that line. So when Wardell dies, you have to adjust. Maybe you push tunnel and do something crazy like that. Or maybe you just back off.
Not allowed to AKREW big numbers advantage.
Yeah, they're about to
okay, so let's move on to the next one though, because I'm getting fucking bored of this already. So this is when TSM are using a much better composition in my opinion. Corey on the Rays, massive improvement. Rossi on the Viper, big improvement as well, I think. You don't need Chamber and Killjoy in this map. I think this composition is just so much better for TSM. I love that they made these adjustments. I think this is just straight up a good comp. In fact, I might even believe that this is the meta comp for Fracture. So really like this adjustment from TSM on Fracture overall. Let's just take a look at a couple of rounds. Not too many. I'm just going to take a look at a handful of rounds here and just glance over them. All right, round 3. So where is Subroza playing this time? Subroza is going to be playing with Rossi in halls. And...
Top side of B over towards Arcade position.
Wait, am I on the right one here? Wait, I'm off the fucking goop. TSM are on the attack, sorry. I'm off the fucking goop. TSM have, Subroza playing in halls with Aleko. And do you guys remember the previous round 2 that I was showing you, where Subroza was just way too far ahead and ended up dying, and it left him in a 1v1? At this time, Subroza has the stun, has the suck, pushing together, but Aleko is right behind him. So Aleko is on the same page as Subroza in terms of the aggression here. They get the kill. There's a flash. Still ends up dying, but this doesn't hurt them to the same degree because Rossi is still playing Viper here. So I don't think this is a massive problem for them in the same way as it was previously. I think it actually allows Subroza to play point a little bit more. Actually, Aleko didn't manage to trade out that kill, which I think was a bit of a mistake there. But I also like the fact that Corey is able to play so much more aggressively in these kind of situations. You see Corey and Aleko playing together in this kind of scenario. So I like the fact that he's going to be able to play point quite a lot. But here again is what I want to point out. I just want to show you guys on defense how many rounds Subroza is pushing before his team, or like how early in the round Subroza is pushing, right? Just as a little thought experiment. So round 13, Subroza and Corey are going to push on defense here. So there's Corey, there's Subroza. They're going to push on defense immediately. Pistol round. Immediate push. They push up. The boombot. They go underneath. They're taking tunnel. They take contact at about 1:20 on the clock. And I think they're a bit fortunate for Subroza to be able to get that opening kill on Ryan. They find a bit of a timing. And Subroza's good enough to be able to trade 2 for 2. But on defense now, you are 3v3 spread all over the map. So
Sideshow
is that
aims to
worthwhile?
cure world
I don't know. I think it's good to throw in a few of those aggressive rounds. Definitely. But watch how many aggressive rounds they have. So that's round 13. Round 15, Subroza and Rossi this time push at 1:20 on the clock. So round 15, here's Subroza and Rossi over on the B site. You know, it gets to this point, they've got some halls pressure, and Subroza and Rossi decide 1:20. There's a little bit of contact happening inside halls. This is a good opportunity for us to go for a mid-round push with some information. And a couple seconds later, they find contact, and they're able to get 1 kill, but then they overpush. They don't just use the 5v4 advantage. They keep trying to go and go and go, and they end up, coming away favorably here. But again, Subroza and Rossi trying to push early on, rather than having, that be some of your other players that perhaps are not as instrumental in holding onto the B site should the push come through. So that's round 13, round 15. They have gone for very early round pushes. Round 17, they go for an early round push, straight off the rip again. So here's round 17, and you see Subroza and Corey go for an early round push off the breach utility. So again, Subroza the first one out the smoke, rather than Corey for whatever reason. Corey playing to kind of trade Subroza here, which seems weird to me. But Ryan's getting pinched a little bit here. Subroza's in a very pushed up position, and they don't take contact for a long time. Eventually here, Ryan does just die to Subroza, and Subroza and Corey actually have really nice post-plant positions. But the quantity of early round pushes is what I'm getting at here. Because all of these rounds, Subroza has to be in a position where he has his rifle out. Can't be using his Astral form or his stars for his teammates very much. He's like setting himself up to clear out areas in the mid round and gain a lot of information. It's a very different style of Astra. That's why his stats are so bonkers. It's because he's pushing constantly. And it's working because he's a really talented rifler. And at least what I like about this comp is that he's always with someone. Round 13, Subroza and Corey. Round 15, Subroza and Rossi. Round 17, Subroza and Corey. Round 19, that I'm about to show you, Subroza and Corey. Round 21, Subroza and Aleko. He's always with someone, which is different to how it was previously with TSM. So at least there's structure that supports the way that Subroza likes to play. But he definitely plays a very aggro style of Astra on this map on defense. And I think the frequency of which it happens, I mean, again, here, just Subroza and Corey running forwards, like fucking recalling a star as he goes to take a duel, and Subroza's the one in first, and then Corey afterwards. He is mad aggressive on Astra on defense here, and he frequently goes 1-for-1. I mean, sometimes he gets a kill, and he's able to maintain his position, and they have some map control, but he frequently goes 1-for-1. And it's the quantity, man. He did it in round 13, 15, 17, 19, 21. That's 5 rounds out of the second half. Subroza is pushing somewhere on the map. But it was kind of booming Ghost. And I'm not saying it's just random. They're mixing it up. They're varying it. And it's being supported fairly well. But it seems to me to be the frequency is a bit too high. Because it's getting to the point where you can just wait for it. And you will catch Subroza pushing somewhere. Anyway, this was round 19. Take a look at round 21. Same kind of thing. Let's have a look at round 21. Here it is. Round 21, another rifle round, and this time it's Subroza and Aleko. So Subroza and Aleko playing in halls here. They've got stun, they've got suck. So they stun, they suck. And instead of Subroza just trying to get the kills on the people who are stuck in the stun-suck combo, he's going to push further and further and further, looking for the kill, looking to apply the pressure, and gets the kill on John Cutie. But is there a world where John Cutie just gets that kill? And then John Cutie can tuck back into the corner and Aleko can't trade? Yeah, absolutely. So it's a lot of like frag hunting happening from Subroza. And I think the frequency of it needs to be tuned based on how much he's getting punished. And in this game, he just wasn't getting punished. So he kept doing it over and over and over again. So in terms of his utility, he's not really using utility on defense for the rest of his team pretty much at all. I mean, he's occasionally using some. Like, he sets up these early round stars, but he only really uses Astra utility on the side of the map that he's playing on. He will occasionally, like, if he gets this kill on this player and he's like in bridge and nobody's next to him for 30 seconds, he might pull for a teammate or like smoke for a teammate or something like that. But he's not playing to maximize his utility value on defense side Fracture. But it is a map that's good to push on defense. Again, it's just the frequency of it. And frankly, Fracture with this composition, I don't even mind the way that TSM play it. I think their bind, though, has got some catastrophic problems with it. Mostly around the frequency of Wardell opping and the necessity for Subroza to therefore play a much more solid, safe playstyle because Wardell can't be helpful on most attack rounds. Could they not just run solo controller? If they ran solo controller and Subroza was playing like Sky or something, I fear for what would happen because I swear to God, he'd just be flashing everywhere and the flashes almost make his pushes worse. Because at least here on Fracture, he's contact pushing. So he doesn't say, hey, Ghost, this is where I am. Come and get me. You know, he doesn't do that because he's not like, you know, flashing everywhere to try and peek around the angles. If he's playing Sky here, I swear he would be flashing way more often, and it would just be like a beacon for his opponents to be like, oh, there's Subroza, let's go and kill him. He's probably not supported that well by his teammates. Although having said that, you know, they are normally pushing as a duo around the map, which is good for TSM. It is. It is. Anyway, I think Subroza's Astra is pretty damn good. I think he's an insane rifler, and I think part of the problem with Subroza is that he's on a team with Wardell. And the style that Subroza likes to play just doesn't synergize with attack side opping at all. So I don't think there's a problem with Subroza playing more. I think Subroza has a lot of weight on his shoulders on this team because he's going to have to adjust his playstyle. Otherwise, TSM are going to hit a hard cap. Because I just don't think Wardell will. I just really don't believe that Wardell will adjust his playstyle to rifle more. I think it'd be so helpful for them. So helpful. But I just don't believe he will. Also, Wardell needs to learn how to use rendezvous, for the love of fucking God. Anyway. Also, this team needs to put way more resources into Corey. All of these resources that are getting used into maximizing Subroza's potential, right? Like, the fact that in this map, he has 5 rounds where a teammate helps him push. those resources that go towards Subroza get taken away from Corey. And Subroza could play a really good Astra by just being passive and playing off his utility and anchoring. Subroza's anchoring is so good, man. But Corey needs those resources to push and to have impact. I guess, you know, he can play a more passive raise and just need to deny plant and try to anchor and stuff, but I don't think it's getting the most out of the team as a whole. Anyway, I feel like I've molded myself into oblivion, though I tried to be fairly balanced with that analysis. So, yeah, let's play some ranked. Fuck it. Time to play ranked.